Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from London Bridge, just south of the river, to Greenwich in southeast London. This ride takes about 25 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. By public transport, the same journey takes around half an hour and requires a change of lines or a long walk. So cycling is a great way to get between these two places, especially now a new cycleway has opened up connecting them, which we'll be talking about in this video. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to hit subscribe on the channel, as I try to post new videos just like it every week. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to contribute as well, then you can find a link in the description below the video. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting on Tooley Street by London Bridge Station and we're going to head right down Bermondsey Street, running along the railway arches and underneath the platforms. Today we're going to be taking a detailed look at the newly opened section of Cycleway 4 from London Bridge to Greenwich. You can just get to Cycleway 4 by going down Tooley Street, but I'm going to show you my preferred way of getting there, which involves going down some slightly quieter streets. The first bit of this link makes use of a closure on Bermondsey Street here coming up. You can see the bollard and the no entry signs, which prevent cars from using it as a rat run or a through route. It means it's really nice and quiet. We then turn on to Cycleway 14, an existing backstreet route which I think is pretty good and usually has reasonably low levels of traffic on it. If you keep following the signs for Cycleway 14, you'll eventually meet Cycleway 4 and we'll turn onto it in a bit. Hopefully in the future, Cycleway 4 with its great protected lanes will be extended down Tooley Street past London Bridge Station and meet up with the protected lanes on London Bridge itself. But for now, I think that this is probably the best way to go. Just on our right here, don't miss Maltby Street Market, which is a weekend food market in the railway arches there. It's a nice place to stop and have a coffee or something to eat. You can't really tell from the video, but often when you cycle past this point, you will be able to smell the coffee roastery, so it is actually quite difficult to miss if you know what you're looking for. We've now turned on to Cycleway 4. And as you can see, this is a proper cycleway. It's a two-way protected cycle track separated from motor traffic by a curb or sometimes later on plastic wands as well. What's brilliant about this, apart from just the general really high quality of the cycle track, is the fact that it now runs continuously all the way from where we joined it near London Bridge down to Greenwich. If you've not been following its construction as closely as I have, and I have been down here probably about 6 or 7 times while it's been under construction just to take a look, C4 is being constructed in various sections. Unfortunately, the sections were not constructed in order, which doesn't really make sense and kind of limited their usefulness until now. That's because a hole in the middle of the cycle track around Surrey Quays station was just filled, giving us this continuous and direct route that we're riding today. The track doesn't just run like this all the way from London Bridge to Greenwich. There's also a further section past Greenwich that runs all the way to Charlton. Although that hasn't been properly connected up yet, I do know a safe route using the quiet streets to get there and link to this lane. So if anyone wants to go to Charlton in future by bike, then do hit subscribe, as I will be doing plenty of videos along that. There's also other connections you can make in the east to places like Woolwich, and I reckon I can find safe routes going west from London Bridge into the city, Westminster, and even as far as say King's Cross, Camden. And I'll be doing videos on all of those, so do stay tuned for more. The section that we've been riding on so far opened a couple of years ago, but we're just about to cross into the new section which opened a couple of weeks ago, and we are on it now. You can see that the key difference here is that instead of curbs, most of it is done with plastic wands. This wasn't actually the original intended design. The reason it's been done like that is because of the financial situation that Transport for London is in. As a result of the lack of cash at TfL, the design has been revised to replace some of the curb lines with wands because they are significantly cheaper than building curbs. Fortunately, curbs were still used at key points like on the bus stop bypasses that we went past and at some of the junctions. In my opinion, the effect is good. I think this is a fair compromise to save money and just get the thing built. I never felt unsafe riding down this track, even though the protection is slightly less firm than in some of the other sections. I did ride down here on a weekend, however, when traffic was fairly light, so I'd be interested to ride it during rush hour and to hear from any of you in the comments who have also ridden it at a busier time to see what you think as well. If I have one constructive criticism of the new section, it is the timings of the lights. The lights when we went past Surrey Quay Station do have a very long wait time and you don't get a huge amount of time to cross. The same also goes for here at the junction with Plough Lane, where you do find yourself waiting for quite a long time. Hopefully the timings can be tweaked a bit, especially as it becomes apparent that the section is incredibly well used. It's not the busiest at the moment as I'm here on a relatively early Saturday morning, but from the videos I've seen on social media at rush hour, it looks like it's already pretty packed with people riding into central London for work. The phases do need to be long enough to get everyone through the lights at once. Another small thing that could be fixed is that they could have done a slightly better job of erasing the old road markings on the new section. A lot of them are still visible, especially on a sunny day like this, and it can be a little bit confusing for it to say bus lane or something like that. Talking of bad light phasings, this junction here is particularly slow. I did end up waiting for 1 or 2 minutes, but what marks it out is that there wasn't actually any traffic using the side road, so that could be one to tweak as well. It is an existing junction though, not part of the new section. Overall though, Cycleway 4 is absolutely brilliant, and the completion of this latest section is an absolute game changer for cycling in southeast London. Regular viewers of the channel will know that there are already some good routes to get down to Greenwich. That includes Cycleway 1, which is now known as Cycleway 10, which is a decent route with very low traffic on it. I do like riding Q1, but riding on C4 here is just so much more fun and feels a lot more direct. There were also some issues with Cycleway 10, the Cycleway route, particularly around the Millwall Stadium, where there were reports of people being regularly mugged cycling down on that quite isolated path. If that's the sort of thing that concerns you, well, you now have Cycleway 4 and you can cycle along here. It's a lot less isolated, much more public, but just as traffic free. Now, this channel is no stranger to cycling on quiet back streets. Don't get me wrong, you can cycle on some absolutely fantastic routes in London, staying away from the main roads. But what I think that the high quality of Cycleway 4 shows is that those quiet back streets need to be connected to big, protected main road trunk routes like this one. They are complementary to each other, they're not a replacement. You need to have low traffic neighbourhoods on the back streets, keeping them quiet so people can get to their final destination. But for longer journeys and going between areas, the main roads also need to be safe to cycle on, and that is a job that Cycleway 4 does incredibly well. Fortunately, there are already further expansions planned connecting to Cycleway 4 and making the best of the new infrastructure. One is that Lewisham recently consulted on protected lanes down Deptford Church Street, connecting to this route and gaining network effect benefits from it. And Greenwich Council is also planning on extending this lane through Greenwich Town Centre, which you will be able to get through by going straight ahead here, where that guy in the fluorescent jacket has gone. They have also published plans to take it all the way to Woolwich in East London, which will be fantastic. For now though, there is a way to get past Greenwich Town Centre, and it's what we're on now. We're going down Norway Street and Thames Street and then turning off up to Horseferry Place, which I've always thought could make quite a nice public square near the Thames. Then we follow the Thames path and we get to the Cutty Sark ship and the southern entrance to the Greenwich foot tunnel, which you can see in that dome on the left there. So we have made it all the way to the Cutty Sark in Greenwich, which is where I like to end videos in Greenwich because it's a lovely spot. You can also see the towers of Canary Wharf up there over the river. Now, let me know in the comments what you think of that. Have you ridden on it? What's your experience of it? Would you make any changes? If you enjoyed the video, then make sure you hit the like button as it does boost it and help other people find it. And also hit subscribe if you haven't already, because there are plenty more videos coming in the same vein. Thank you again to everyone on the Patreon. You are all fantastic. And if anyone's been particularly enjoying the channel recently, feels generous and wants to contribute, you can find a link to the Patreon in the description below the video. There's also a link to a free downloadable map of the route, which you can use on whatever app or device you have. I will see you all again next time. Goodbye.